I'm happy to be joined by UFC welterweight Anthony Rocco Martin, who's coming off a majority loss to Demian Maia on June 29th at UFC on ESPN3. Rocco, always good to talk to you, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, always a pleasure. And I know you're upset this loss snapped your 4-fight win streak. But you did have some moments in there, and I thought that if the fight had gone a little bit longer, maybe if it was a 5-round fight, you could have won that fight. Looking back on it now, just all in all, what could you have done to maybe get a win instead of losing that close decision loss?
Yeah, I mean, I just had to I had to just take a little bit more chances, I think, to get back up to my feet. I really thought that I would be able to take over a little bit sooner, and it just took a round too late. So that was kind of the big thing. I knew it was going to be that type of fight. I knew that he was just trying to take me down, and obviously I know he's one of the best grapplers in the world, but I expected more of myself. I do expect more of myself, and I think that if we ran it back, that it'd be a lot different.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would. And I really felt like in the third round, you were starting to pick up some momentum there. Did you feel him starting to kind of gas out, and did it just feel like a little just too late at that point?
Yeah, I knew that towards the end of the second round, when the ref broke us apart and said to get up, that he really didn't want to get back up. He was kind of like, he kind of waited for like 5 seconds. And at that time, I knew, okay, I know he's tired. But still, the third round, I was trying to like push forward, but then he was running away a lot more than I anticipated. And then he's also such a good grappler where I'm like, oh, I can't just come flying in because he'll just take me down. So this is tough. I mean, I'm pretty disappointed. I've been a little bit depressed since then, but it's time to get back on the horse and get back after it.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, Demian Maia has made a lot of great fighters look very foolish in there. He did not do that to you. You hung in there, and I really believe if that fight happened again, you'd have a very solid chance at going in there and picking up the win. How is your confidence right now? Because again, like I mentioned earlier, you were on a 4-fight win streak. This is just a little speed bump in my eyes, but how's your confidence moving forward?
No, I feel great, man. I just, I hope that it didn't drop me too far down, the pole. I don't want to go back to the, first fight of the night or anything like that. So I'm hoping that I get another big fight coming up. And really, I think that I have the ability to be there with those top guys in the world. I think I have, I think 5-rounders definitely are better suited towards me, but there's no excuses. I got to perform. I got to be better. I got to start a little bit faster, I think.
Mhm. And I understand you're at ATT in Atlanta right now, helping Douglas Lima get ready for his fight against Bellator welterweight champion Rory McDonald. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going great, man. I really, Jakal came down for the Demian Maia fight and was really helping me. So I was like, it'd be nice to go help those guys. And then I've trained with Diego before, so he's great. There's all kinds of really good 170ers. It's a small group, but you're talking about like 5 of the top 30 welterweights in the world, I think, that are training over here.
What's that like to have so many legit welterweights in your camp, getting you ready to step back in the cage? Is it just making you feel more and more confident and your skill set a little bit more sharp as you get ready to step back into the octagon?
Yes, it's always nice to feel like you're not cutting corners. You're not out there. You're not just trying to get by or try to win every round, because you're going to lose some rounds. These guys are the top in the world, so you're going to lose rounds, and it's going to be a great experience, I think, doing a different camp a little bit from down at American Top Team in Coconut Creek. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great experience, and I'm hoping to help those guys so they keep helping me.
How's Lima looking so far in camp?
It's kind of good because we're all just going to start getting into shape now, so no one's in ridiculous shape yet. But we did a couple sparring rounds, and I was like, man, he's a lot better than you would just. You never know going in. You see them, what they do on TV, but you've never trained with them. So, no, it's phenomenal. It's going to be a great learning experience. And Diego and Douglas are both two way different type of fighters. So that experience alone in itself is going to be pretty cool.
Well, what's your, I guess, way too early prediction when Douglas goes in and fights Rory? How do you think that's going to end?
I mean, Douglas always has that ability to really hurt you and really put you away. And I think that Rory's going to be trying to more still rounds, so it's always that, one's playing to win the fight, and obviously they're both playing to win, but Douglas playing to kill you, one's playing to win, one's playing to kill you. So it's an interesting matchup, but obviously I think that, Douglas, the first fight was really close. I think Douglas did a lot more damage. So I think that, Rory's going to be a little bit more tentative this time.
Yeah, I can't wait for that fight. It's going to be a barn burner, one you can't miss. I'd like to ask you about a couple of other fights and get your thoughts. Colby Covington, Robbie Lawler last weekend. I've never been more impressed with Colby than I was seeing what he did to Robbie. That was very impressive in my eyes. What are your overall thoughts of his performance, and how do you view him fighting Kamaru Usman here? Ultimately, that's supposed to be the next matchup.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things where even me and Mike Brown have talked about it, where he just has this freak cardio that it's unreal. Like, we're just to talk about it, or everyone says, "Oh, you're in good shape," or "You got great cardio." It's not the same. It's not. It's like he's born with an extra lung, where he's just gonna outwork you. He's gonna make you. He'll work twice as hard as you're working, knowing that you're still gonna gas before him. So just that ability to do that, and he's obviously a world class wrestler, and I think that his confidence is skyrocketed too. So, I mean, I thought that Robbie would give him a little bit more trouble than that, but it just really shows you how good that Colby is, and I think he's actually underrated. I think a lot of people overlook him just because the way he talks and it's so ridiculous sometimes what he says, but it's kind of comical if you look back and just watch it. But he really is that good. And I think with Usman, I think that if Usman really underlooks this guy in any area, that he's gonna be mistaken. And I think that Colby's that it's gonna be weird because they both are pressure fighters. They both go forward, and really neither one has shown any ability to gas. So, but like I said, Usman, I feel like fights at one pace. Okay, Colby fights at one pace, but Colby's pace is he's gonna make you work harder than you've worked before. So when that happens, it changes fights. I thought that was with Marias and Cejudo, was that Marias was fighting at that one pace. The second Cejudo finally is like, shit, I gotta do something. He changed the pace that Marias had to fight at. All of a sudden, you start to gas because you're not used to fighting at a different pace. So I mean, it's interesting, but I definitely gonna have Colby. I think Colby's the favorite going in.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to get your thoughts on my take to see if you think I'm crazy by saying this. It sounds like you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking, but I feel like we haven't really seen Usman gas in the past. But he carries a little bit more muscle. He's a very, very bulky, rugged guy. And I feel like with both of these guys keeping up a high pace, I feel like with carrying that extra muscle mass as you get into the fourth and fifth round, I feel like it's going to tip towards Colby's favor. And if Usman doesn't hurt him early, I think Colby's going to win a decision as it gets into the fourth and fifth rounds. Does that seem about right to you?
I mean, I've seen Usman in person, and I don't think he's as big as what he looks. I think when he's on that TV, for some reason, he looks like an absolute monster. And I'm not saying he's not a monster, but I don't know, because I've not even seen many people go after Usman that much. No one's really like made him go backwards. And I'm telling you right now, at some point in the fight, Colby's gonna make you go backwards, and they're gonna start clashing. And the other thing is that I think Usman's very good at, one of his best skills, I think, is how he slows the pace down a little bit. Is he can hold people against the cage.
Yeah.
So he grabs them, and I think he's so strong that he kind of just holds them there. And I think that's where he's resting a little bit. I'm telling you right now, there's no one in this world that's going to hold Colby against a cage like that. It's impossible. It's just, he won't do it. He'll start pulling guard, doing like crazy stuff before he just lets you hold him there and start resting, because he knows I'm just going to make you work at every single. That's all he's doing. Even when people are laughing at him, oh, he doesn't even know what a rear naked choke was when he was going with Robbie. No, he's just making Robbie work. That's it. He's not even really trying to get the rear naked choke. He's just making you work. So you can't stand up, because when you stand up, you're going to open your neck. So you can't stand up. Then he's just dragging you. He's just wearing you, and he's just wearing you. He's just working the whole time. He'll work for 25 minutes straight, knowing that you're going to fade at some point. And if you take off seconds, it's going to start adding up. I really think that unless Usman hurts him really, really early in the fight, that it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I can't wait for this fight. The trash talk leading up to it is going to be epic. So we can all just sit back, get our popcorn, and have fun watching. I'm really excited about it. I also wanted to get your thoughts. You had a tweet directed towards Herb Dean after that fight card. And look, he's one of the best in the business. We all have bad nights regardless of what our profession is. But for you as a fighter, someone that is going in there that essentially, you're putting your health and your well-being on the line, how frustrating is it for you when you see referees, missing, submissions and when guys go out, what goes through your mind when you see that?
I mean, honestly, so personally, I would rather it be stopped too late than too early. But it was kind of the same thing. Joe Rogan, a couple weeks ago, it was kind of a rough night, I think, as well. And people are like, oh, everyone has a rough night. Yeah, but as a fighter, you have a rough night, you're shit on from everybody. Okay, that's the commentating, that everyone's shitting on you. So I think it's only fair if you have a bad night in any job, like you should be like, hey, you should be held accountable. But I decided it was funny. I thought Herb Dino was kind of weird. This guy literally went to sleep. He grabs his hand, shakes it. It doesn't move a centimeter. And then he's like, okay. And then he grabs it again. And he still doesn't, he's not sure, like, oh, is he asleep? Or is like, should I stop it? I know he's probably really freaked out about, like, obviously, it's a tough job. No doubt about it. Okay, you have to have tough skin. So I'm like, okay, you can get shit on, that's fine. Move on. Go back to work, get better, do whatever you have to do. But it was twice that night where it was like two major mistakes, I thought, where it was more than clear that the guy was asleep. And then one time, he's not even close to even looking at this guy's hands because he's on the opposite side. And I could tell right away. Obviously, on the TV, it's a lot different than in person as well. But on the TV, you could tell right away, hey, this guy's asleep.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's funny. I recently spoke to Stephen Ocho Peterson, UFC featherweight, and he mentioned that he really feels like judges should be retired fighters, people that have been in there, that have competed at the highest of levels, that know the ins and outs of the sport. Do you feel similar to that? Do you feel like there should be a little bit more of I guess you had to have done it to be in there judging, or in there, officiating fights?
I mean, I really don't think so. I don't think so. Because there is a lot of knowledgeable people that just watch the fights, but I do think that, you should have to watch BJJ matches. You should watch, more training than just a fight, because there's a lot, you really don't understand every detail of what's going on if you're just watching fights. I think that if you're a fighter, you come from a gym or like big gym, you might have trained with a lot of these guys. It's hard to be unbiased, I think, as being an ex-fighter, because maybe you respect this other coach more than you respect these other guys, and then you kind of like get these biased opinions about fighters. And I've had the same problem watching fights where, if I like the guy, anytime you like a guy, it's hard to be like, oh, any close round, you're like, oh, that guy won. Like, obviously, like, because you see what they've done as more substantial. But I mean, I think it is hard to be unbiased in the sport, especially if you're a fighter, because you've trained with a lot of the guys or you come from them. And you know a lot of the guys, because a lot of the trainers and whatnot were ex-fighters or they've been around for a long time. So it's hard to be unbiased as being a ex-fighter. But I think that, referees, I think they could be good referees and stuff like that. But being a judge, it's tough to be unbiased, I think. But they do need more training. And I think that comes from just watching all the martial arts individually as well as just all together.
Yeah, those are great points. That all makes a lot of sense to me. I'd have to agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about what's next for you. I know you're right now training with a bunch of killers in the welterweight division there at ATT in Atlanta. When do you hope to step back in the cage? And is there someone that you have your eyes on, someone you'd like to get in there and fight next?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking late October, November is probably a good time to get back in there. Just let, really let me get the focus back. Obviously, losing sucks, but I think Niko Price, man. I've tweeted him, he's tweeted me. I think that's the logical next fight. I mean, obviously, I want to. If I would have won the last fight, right? I'm talking about fighting in the top 10. Now I'm fighting Niko Price. No offense against Niko, I don't think he's on the same level as me. I think he's an exciting fighter. I think he's tough, rugged. But when you start talking about a guy's skills and just saying that they're tough and they're they got heart and stuff like that, you're not really talking about how good they are. So I think I'm better everywhere than him. But I do think that he's a guy that is going to make it an exciting fight. And those are kind of the fights I need right now, is to be excited and get back on the winning ways. And I think that he's the logical next choice.
What do you think about a guy like Gunnar Nelson or Michael Chiesa? Are those guys that you feel like are in that group of guys that you could be fighting in the next one or two fights?
Oh, I mean, I think that Gunner's a good matchup for me. I think that's a good fight for me. He's lost a few, I think, and really, whatever's going to get me back into that top 15 fights is kind of what I'm looking for. Chiesa, I think Chiesa is looking for that. That I don't know. This guy comes up from 170. I mean, comes up to 170. I feel like I like Chiesa as a person, but they've kind of padded him so far at 170. I feel like they give him these guys that are on their way outs, and geez, that's what I was saying. I was like, God, give me Diego Sanchez. You want to give me some fights like that? I'll take those fights. You're talking about free paychecks, I feel like. Yeah. So, I think that whatever's going to get me, obviously, I'd like to get this next fight. I need a finish. And ideally, I get that another chance at crack at the top 15. I only have 2 fights left on my contract. So I need to go. These next 2 fights are very pivotal, I think, in me re-signing with the UFC. I need to be exciting. I need to be finishing these guys, and I need to just keep doing what I'm doing.
It's funny how time can change things, because I can remember a little while back you talking to me about them telling the UFC brass telling you that the loser of you and Ryan LaFleur is going to be cut from the roster. And now you're battling to get into that top 15-10 of the welterweight division. So you really have put a stamp on how good you are at 170 pounds. Do you feel like the next year is just going to be like that next level, that coming out party for you, where you're gonna get a win over a signature guy like a Demian Maia or someone like that?
No, I absolutely. Honestly, this is my honest thoughts. I thought that Demian Maia was one of the worst matchups, I thought, for me going into the top 15. I just said, realistically, because he's so dominant in one area, that it's just like, that's the type of fight it was, is where I knew he gets you down, he's pretty much just stealing that round, and I'm like, so we got to offer the fight a week before the Minnesota card against Demian Maia, and I said, listen, if it's the main event where it's a 5-round fight, I'll take that thing in a second. Otherwise, I'm going to Minnesota, because I knew, I was like, 5-rounder, I think my chances dramatically increased. But I got to win those fights. That's just the way it is. I think that I'm one of the best fighters in the world. I think that I can really make a run at this 170-pound division. And in order to do that, though, I need to win those fights versus guys like Demian Maia. But I do think that this next year is huge, man. It's my whole career's on the line. These next 2 fights are enormous, where I think that even if I just win these next 2 fights, it's not going to be enough for UFC to be like, hey, this guy's going to make a real run at the title. I need to finish these next 2 guys and show the UFC, Sean Shelby, and all those guys that, I'm really here to make a push and to be exciting and to win these fights and to show the world what I'm really capable of.
Let me just ask you one last question before I let you go, Rocco. Worst case scenario, let's say that your dreams don't come to fruition fighting in the UFC. How much more disappointing would it be for you to have a very, very solid career fighting for Bellator or PFL, maybe winning a championship versus not achieving that in the UFC? Is that quite a difference to you when you think about it as far as your legacy?
I mean, I'd fight to be the greatest. And that's the greatest in the world. And right now, I feel like you can go win a title in those other organizations, and you still could be top 3 guys in the world. You know what I mean? But everyone knows that UFC champion is always going to be considered the greatest. Mm-hmm. So, I don't have any problem going to another organization and winning. But I plan to come back. I plan to come back and win that UFC title. I think that's my end goal. Your goals may change a little bit as time goes on. But my goal is definitely to be the UFC champion, and I truly, honestly believe that I can be that. And that's the only reason why I keep fighting, is I think that I have the ability, and now I just got to put it all together. I just got to have the right opportunity, and I need to capitalize. But these next 2 fights, you're going to see the best Anthony Rocco Martin. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to put it all on the line, and I'm going to really go after it.
Oh, that's great to hear. I can't wait to see you step back in the cage. I was cheering for you when you fought Maia. That was actually on my birthday, so I was hoping that you were going to give me a present, man, and get that win. But, you'll get back on the horse and get in there and get a W next time out, I'm sure. For anyone that's out there that wants to follow Rocco, make sure you go to Tony Rocco Martin on Twitter and Anthony Rocco Martin on Instagram. Anyone you want to thank or give any shout-outs, man, the floor is yours.
not just my family, friends, and teammates, and everyone. And thank you, obviously, for having me on. And hopefully, you guys all tune in for my next fight. And hopefully, it's me and Niko Price getting back in there and scrapping.
Nice. I can't wait, man. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Have fun down in Atlanta, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey, awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.